What's going on, people? It's Mr. Door back again with the review show. I hope everyone's fit and well. Where should I start? Yesterday's game, Liverpool 3, Forest 0. Can't believe I'm saying that. No, you Liverpool fans, I don't care. You can troll me as much as you want. I've had enough of you today, but here's what it is. I'm going to do the show and talk about it. If you've got any questions for the panel or myself, please do get in the comments and get involved. If you're new to the channel, please hit the like button, subscribe if you're new. And let's start it. Let's get the panel in. Got 3 or 4 angry people. As I say, I'll say one person's angry. If you've not seen Des Oldham on Instagram, go and check it out because he's more angry than anyone else. I'm angry, but I'm not as angry as this guy. But we'll get his view on it. First of all, what's going on, Glenn? How you doing, Glenn?
Yeah, I'm okay. I've had a bit of a journey back yesterday. I mentioned before we started, Door. So I've had a little bit of time to digest the whole sort of last sort of 2 matches, really 2.5 matches. But yeah, I'm well. Looking forward to seeing everybody else.
Are you looking forward to Des's rant?
No, get the comments as well.
I can't wait for Des's rant.
You look for Des's rant? I'm not. Should just mute him. We can just mute Des. I think we just mute people in the chat. Should we mute Des? I've had enough of him already. We've got the man himself, the Australian legend.
I'm normally so pumped to be on this show, Dor. And normally I was like, come on, no. So my story of the last 2 matches was that because Dor has asked me to be on the show, I thought, oh, goodness, I better go back and rewatch them because I fell asleep during both with 30 minutes to go. So I've now rewatched both matches twice. And the pain of the last 24 hours, oh, my goodness, it's just so annoying. And I think the Luton match rolling into the Liverpool one just compounds it. But I will say this, like I always say, things are never as good as you think, and they're never as bad as you think.
Yeah.
Not as bad as you think.
Not as bad as you think. And we've got next up, Angry Des. How are you, Des?
I'm all right. I don't know where you getting this anger thing from.
People, if you follow Des on Instagram or Twitter, go and see his
I was as honest and as realistic as pragmatic as I usually am. It was rubbish. End of. It's as simple as that. I couldn't say it any more straightforward. It wasn't very good. So I have got plenty to say, but I'm not particularly angry.
You're angry. Stop lying. People, after this, follow Des on Instagram. Make sure you follow Glenn on Instagram. Go and check it out. He was an angry man. That's why I thought, woosa. Let's start the show. Right, people, like I said, if you want to talk about the game, be honest as it is, and then we'll talk about it. Right, before we do it, let's go for the chat as well. My friend Mohammed, good evening, Forest. We were poor yesterday. We didn't have enough chances in our half. Keeper needs to go. Amato needs to replace in goal. We need to find a feet again. That's something that we're going to talk about in the show. Thank you, Mohammed, for watching the show. My friend Jem, I need to get you back on the show, Bob. I need to get back on the show. Got Ellie on. Evening, Ben. Good performance. Crap performance. Crap atmosphere. Individual errors. We will move on. Yeah. Atmosphere was rubbish.
Shocking errors.
Both set of fans, I personally think wasn't great. Phil, not moaning along again, please. I'm not going to Phil. I'm not going to moan. I'm not going to moan. We're going to talk about the game. I'm going to have a say. Big Matt, good evening, guys. Hope you're all well. We are, Matt, as well. Thank you as well. Chris, evening, lads. Keep calm. Long campaign. We'll be fine. Come on, your reds. We'll be fine. We'll be fine. We will be. Paul, how you doing, Paul? Good evening, chat. Another disappointing day on Sunday. Wonder if Mr. Marcus will be getting twitchy again. That's something that we'll be talking about throughout the show about Mr. Marcus as well. Eve, how you doing? Eve always watch the show without fail. Good evening, Mr. Door, Dave, Des, and Glenn. Hope you're well. I'm drawing some pictures of some of the 5 players. Picture of City Ground and Trent Bridge. Quick round. Eve, can you draw a picture of Angry Des? That would be fantastic. Put it on your calendar for next year. Just a picture of him. It'd be great. Sorry, I'm picking on Des. I'm not picking on you. I'm not picking on you, Des. I'm just
Why would you make someone draw a picture of Des? As a Forest fan, they've already had to toughen up.
We've got this guy. Come on, boy. Peter, you must be loving this, Peter. Come on, boy. Keep his days numbered. Time to call him. Tax it. You must be loving this, Peter. You've been Cooper out since he's been appointed. So yeah, you're loving this. And last one before we talk about panel. My guys is glued if he's getting twitchy. Absolutely glued beyond help. Right. Who should start with panel? Who should? No, we'll save Des till last. Let's get Glenn in because Glenn. We're going to start, Glenn. I sat next to Glenn, and yeah.
Do you remember my score prediction?
Oh, he got it right as well.
No, I didn't.
You did.
Malcolm.
No, Malcolm went right. Malcolm went right. Yeah.
Malcolm.
Right, before you, we've got someone on his channel. Look forward to hearing Des's rant. He barely said a word since he got. That's that. I told you. Okay. People, go follow him on his. Sorry, Des. Okay, I had to. Sorry, Glenn. Let's carry on, Glenn.
Okay, I'll just talk about the match. I went yesterday fully expecting us to at least try to, Wood providing, put up a little bit of a fight. I think we at that point didn't know that Wood was injured or unavailable in any way, shape, or form. I'm still not sure how or why he wasn't there. I think the fact that the vast majority of the people I was speaking to, including those that around us, that was saying it was going to be a 1-1 draw or a significant defeat, were right to think that we weren't ready necessarily to play against Liverpool, bearing in mind that they played very well in the week and had played Toulouse, hadn't they, and scored several goals. We were always going to struggle against them at that place. We hadn't won since 60 or something in the 60s at Enfield or something like that.
69.
So I think the suggestion that we were going to go and put in a performance and get anything other than perhaps a draw at best was, I don't know. We went with a team that I think, in hindsight, was always going to struggle against them, and they had. Well, who do we have up front? We had Langer, and that was really the only option. Gibbs White, the first half, you and I were talking, weren't we, about how the where he was playing and particularly what he was offering, he's still got that little bit of needing to take the team on, I think, and needing to grab everything and take it by the scruff of the neck and get something out of a game, perhaps without realising the other players that he's got around him now. Dominguez, I thought, when we're talking Dore, had a really good first half. I think he made a big difference in that area, and particularly the way he plays. Him and Sangara and Mangala, between the three of them, are helping each other play particularly well at the moment. I think that's one of the positives that I will take away from yesterday, even though we had 5 at the back and the plan originally, no doubt, was to have 4 there. But that midfield is still operating relatively well. I think the biggest issue that we've got at the moment, and that was brought out by the performance and particularly the number of shots on goal, what was it, 1 in the very last kick of the game, and one effort that could, if it would have been struck a little bit later perhaps, wouldn't have struck the underside of the bar and span off Malanga, who I thought had a really good game despite having everything to do up the top there. So we will talk no doubt about the keeper. We'll talk no doubt about Cooper, but the back 3 or 4, particularly, I thought he had a really good game, Aina, against Salah. He was obviously brought on as an option there, 1v1, and he's particularly good 1v1 against those sorts of players. I think he played well. But the Dominguez, Gibbs White, Langer, sort of that group going forward really didn't have a lot to do, although Dominguez, I was saying in the first half, made an impact in the vast majority of Forest turnovers. He was playing balls around and was allowing other people to play. I think Sangara, another positive from me, finishing the game and playing 97, 98 minutes, whatever it was, is also another positive. Taiwo coming back, he didn't look fit. He was warming up right down in front of us, wasn't he? He didn't look like he was ready to come on, but they gave him half an hour, 35 minutes or so, and that's a positive as well. But other than that, I can't really pick many positives out from that performance or the, we hope that there's no more injuries. We hope there's players coming back. It's great that Toffolo came on. It's great that Williams came on. It's great that Santos had a 25, 30 minutes. We might talk about Yatesy. If you don't, I'll talk about him later on. But positives from that for me were the strength of the three in midfield again, and Taiwo getting some of a run out. Yeah, that was the only thing I can take away from that game, to be honest with you.
Bardo.
I was going to say, Glenn, it's interesting that, because you obviously attended the match, I thought Liverpool just passed straight through us up the guts. And I thought the 5-2-2-1, just the way they seemed to be organised, just meant that, Sangare and Dominguez and Gizwa just didn't seem to be in the right position. And that was certainly the way it looked on the goal when Sangare just got left for dead and they got the cross in. So I'm not so sure. And Paul called it out, and Dawes put it up on screen. I got major concerns about Sangare now. I'm just not sure that he's that interested, and I worry that a player that we tried to sign for 18 months just doesn't seem that interested in playing for us. But yeah, Daw, you would have hated watching the commentary. They were talking about how Forest was set up in the low block football, and so it seems to just be the known thing that we do against the top teams now. Yeah, it would have driven you absolutely insane. But yeah, we missed Taiwo. I don't think we can win without Taiwo. I think he's such our key guy.
Right, people, get your popcorn ready.
All right.
Des said he wants me to put his run to, but I don't know how to do it. But Des, go on. Have you say? Des, you're on mute. You're on mute. See again. He muted himself. He's muted himself.
Look. We went to Liverpool, and in reality, we was always going to get beat. They're a quality side. They've got quality players all over the pitch. Man for man, they're better footballers. That's not an issue whatsoever. I said in both my pre-match thoughts and my instant match reaction, which I just sent you to try and put on, was that there's a way to lose there, isn't there? There's a way to lose when you go to grounds like that. I look at Luton last week. We completely outplayed them, and I'm not going to go on about that game too much, but we completely outplayed them. And the reason I had a problem with the subs is because they kept coming. They kept coming. They didn't look like they were going to score, but they looked busy. They looked keen. They were fighting. And all too often with Forest, and I'm going to come on to some of the stuff Boldo says, they didn't look interested. We can talk about low block football. We can talk about not having strikers on the pitch, but you've got to be interested first and foremost. You've got to be wanting to win the game. The most interested I saw the Forest players yesterday, and I did put this on a tweet, was when the final whistle went and there was after a red shirt, chasing Liverpool players. And that's the closest Sangare got to a Liverpool player, I think, because there was just no effort, no desire. I've got massive concerns over Sangare. He's complacent in possession. He's always in the wrong position on the football pitch. For somebody who's supposed to be naturally a number 6, and we all wanted him. Football smacks us back in the face sometimes, doesn't it? I'm just not seeing it. You shouldn't be for 30 million quid. People are saying, "Oh, let them gel, let them sort of play together." For 30 million quid, with the majority of the team that kept us up last season, players should be walking into that team and making it better. Mangala's
look at the impact Morgan Gibbs White had when he came in for 2/3 of that amount of money. Instantly the best player. Remember, he came on, what was it, against Everton? You just go, whoa. Like there was those whoa moments. Like Des, we just don't have those whoa moments out of Sangare.
Exactly. Mangala's playing out of his skin at the moment. Dominguez has been playing well. And all I've seen from this trio as a connection was the first 20 minutes at Palace. They really linked up well. But other than that, they fade very quickly in games. And Sangare is always on the wrong. He's always in the wrong position, and he's not finding a Forest shirt when he's got the ball. So I don't want to go too hard on him. It might be just too early to write him off at this moment, because, as you reminded me, Loddy last season. You know, I kind of picked that out, and you always remind me of that one. But
he wasn't 30, but Loddy wasn't £30 million.
But the point is, you know, it's not just him. Don't get me wrong. I looked at Neil Carter yesterday and didn't realise he were playing in a game where we got beat 3-0. I didn't realise he were playing for 20 minutes, and that's quite. I had the sun in my eyes for a long time, to be honest.
We did as well.
But I didn't realise. So the guy's not in the thick of it. And what's really frustrating me now, everybody goes for Cooper. Perhaps, and I'll admit this, he takes some of the blame right now because of the way it's panned out. But everyone goes for him, and these players that have come on big fees, which I'm sure Cooper is encouraged to play at best, you know, are just not putting it in. They're just not putting it in, and they're not making it tough for the opponents. At Palace, they played okay. They controlled possession. I feel a little bit more aggression. They'd have won the game. They didn't need to do much to win that Palace game. The Luton game, it was abysmal in the end. And people say, oh, well, we shouldn't feel entitled. Well, nobody feels entitled. Anybody loses a 2-goal lead to a team that have just come out
bottom
at the Championship will be furious. So we've got every reason to be furious at that, you know, and I'm sure Cooper and everybody else around the club was too. And then you go to Liverpool and you've at least got to put in the effort. And I just didn't see it. And we can talk about low block football. We can talk about Morgan Gibbs White and strikers being unfit. But that's tough, isn't it? You still got to go on. And again, I don't want to harp back to what happened in the past. But Brian Clough said it's 11 versus 11. You know, and if you do your job, Cooper picked up on this before the game. His comments was, we've got to be perfect. He knew what was coming. I was watching Bolly, when he should have put it in row Z, lash it across the penalty box. Serge Aurier, players who've done
what about
well.
Serge Aurier's pass back at the end towards the end of the match? You're just sitting there going, goodness me.
But they were just committing suicide in there, do you know? And Neil Carter's rolling around. And of course, Murillo, I don't want to go too hard on him either, but he'll learn from that. Do you know, he won't do that again at a place like Anfield, because that's what happens. If he'd have lost that ball against Palace, he'd have probably been all right. But it's amateur stuff at times. Do you know, this is the Premier League. That's the most concerning thing for me. It's the amateur nature of playing it across the box, you know, when it should be in row Z, kicking it in row Z when it's easier to pass it to Sangare or to Mangala. Do you know, and there's just no cohesion there. I don't get why it's quickly gone wrong. And the comment I seem to use on a lot of things I've vented on is the season's at a bit of a flat spot, and I'm not quite sure why. Saying to Boldo just before we come on, this thing with the bottom three and how poor they look, it's probably give everybody a bit of a false sense of security, you know, and thinks, oh, well, we don't have to do too much because we're going to be all right this season. We're going to play these games half-heartedly. It's not good enough. It's not good enough from the players, and it's not good enough if they just continue to be picked and play in the team with no effort and no desire, because that's what I saw yesterday. You know, if we'd have got beat 3-0, 5-0, having a go, then you walk away and go, they've got 5 quality players, world class. I said it before the game, you know, it was going to be really, really hard to keep them out. But to not sort of break sweat, it felt in many games, in many positions, that just weren't good enough for me.
We have a psychological fragility, I think, which captures. We just don't seem to be strong in unison, and you know, we make those silly errors, and we don't seem to. I see it in the comments there. Danilo and Felipe, I think, would make a big difference. Certainly Felipe in the back, but I feel also that central midfield don't have the pressure of Danilo breathing down their neck. I just don't think Sangare is worried about losing his spot to Ryan Yates. Or
that's question. I see loads of people in the comments as well regarding Ryan Yates, but I think that we'll talk about later through the show. But there's quite a lot of things, topics to talk about, and especially the goalkeeper situation. We are going to mention. I'm going to mention to Glenn about this. People get involved as well. Turner. Everyone, people are trying. I'm being honest, right? Turner was the third goal was his fault, and everyone's saying he's got to be replaced now. Has anyone saw this Greek guy play for any football for his Greek team? This is the question, because everyone keeps saying, "Oh, you must swap him." Oh, I like Forest fans, please. Have we watched him? Have we watched him? In the comments, if anyone's watched him, I'll give you a $5 if you've watched him. Because I know you haven't. You talk bollocks. But Glenn, tell me, would you swap Turner for this guy?
If I was Cooper, I think this is possibly the avenue or the option that they were looking for if they're going to make this decision. Now, I have a similar opinion to you. They see him playing along with George Shelvey and the other keepers. There are 5. Every single week, every single day, they see these guys doing the same drills. You see them on the videos they put out. They're excellent, right? Doing the same drills as Matt Turner. Why have they not, up to now, taken a decision to do what 80% of the comments over there, 80% of the comments are suggesting, and that this is an ideal time to make that switch? There must be something that they're seeing in Matt Turner to keep him on the field as a number 1. Now, I don't know what that is, and I haven't seen, like you said, I haven't seen this Vlachodimos
I've not
play.
seen him. I've not seen him play.
So, but there must be something that's keeping him out. There must be something. If he is significantly better, and I saw something else earlier on about Champions League, if he's significantly better than Matt Turner, why is he not already playing? Right, Champions League player.
Yeah,
there
Turner's
must be
a good
something
shot stopper.
There's a reason why he's not in the team. Now, you're right though. We were expecting Matt Turner to play and to retain his shirt, and with the exception of a couple of instances in the previous, like 3 or 4 games, there's not been a massive howler. We've been talking for years and years, haven't we, about Samba being lobbed because of his positioning. He could well have been lobbed yesterday. There was an error in waiting for this decision to be made. Alternatively, Vlachodimos comes in and essentially plays the number 2 keeper in the cup games that we've got coming up in the FA Cup. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if this is the knee-jerk reaction that the coaching staff needed to make that change. I wouldn't be surprised if the management and others have conversations over the next couple of days about who plays against Villa. I'm sure they will, because they'll have that conversation about every single player. But this might be an opportunity to bring him in. I think Matt Turner played very well yesterday in patches. I thought that
he was good until the third goal, Glenn. He was good until the third goal. He was good until the third goal, I thought.
Couldn't agree more. The close range shot, first half near post, really good. Low to the right twice, albeit the first time low to the right, put it in the path of who I thought would score a hat trick yesterday, Dore. The one who always scores against us.
Oh,
that's all right.
Oh, don't, he always scores past. I said
does.
it before the game. He always scores past Forest every time, and he did. Wound me up.
I think the rambling and end to my answer is, it wouldn't surprise me if Vlachodimos is playing against Villa. It wouldn't surprise me if he uses this as an opportunity to, and there's lots of comments, aren't there, always, about, I must be sitting there laughing his head off at the situation. I happened to see at the end of the game the number of players that went up to Matt Turner and spoke to him at the end of the game. The club captain was one of them, and the squad's decision obviously was to see that as being an unavoidable situation. Now, Toffolo, and between him and Toffolo, they were no doubt having those conversations as well as they went into the dressing room as to who could have fended that ball away. To answer your question, it wouldn't surprise me if it isn't Vlachodimos, but equally, why hasn't it been yet?
Yeah.
There must be something that is keeping Matt Turner in the starting 11. That's all I'd say because I haven't seen him play.
Bardo, what do you think? Like, everyone's screaming for him to replace Turner.
Well, it's just the old classic. It's just the old classic. You're never more popular than when you're sitting on the bench. Dougie Friedman comment. So I think Matt Turner had the psychological fragilities that the rest of the team caught after, towards the end of the match. I thought his shot stopping was actually quite good, and he made a few saves that kept us in it. He's much like Mark Bosnich. He's a great shot stopper, but can't do anything else, and save penalties. And so we've got this. I don't know. You just think you've got to think if the goalkeeper's hitting it out of the park on the bench, then he would be in, wouldn't he? But I just don't think. See in the comments, Turner's not the reason we're losing. We're losing for other reasons.
Des, I know.
Well, I think Glenn hit the nail on the head, didn't he? His pragmatic answer is correct, isn't it? If this goalkeeper is all he's made up to be, he'd be in the team. And the reason he isn't in the team is because Turner actually hasn't done that bad. He has cost us a couple of goals, but those goals have been in the main when we've not been in the game. When like Boldo touched on there, when the fragility of everything and the uncertainty around him is just getting to everybody. Because that's what was happening, really, wasn't it?
He came out, but he didn't need to come out.
No, but that's where I think it is. And again, I wouldn't be surprised to see a change. I wouldn't be surprised to see because it's quite often what managers do when they haven't got many other options to change. I always remember Ron Atkinson. He always said if the team was doing well and he didn't know what to, team wasn't doing very well and he didn't know what to do, he changed the goalkeeper just to do something to make people, perhaps to send a message out to the rest of the team that nobody's safe. So again, I wouldn't be surprised if we see that on Sunday. But you're throwing them into a big game because I feel Sunday's a massive game. And then if he makes an error, you've got two keepers low on confidence.
Yeah.
One because he's been dropped and he's made an error, and the other one because he's made his debut and made an error. So it's a difficult situation. I don't envy the decision he's got to make, but I wouldn't be too disappointed to see Turner. I think his biggest problem, Turner, is he just looks uncomfortable all the time. His kicking is not as bad as people make out. It's just because it's not smooth. A lot of it, he's sort of gangly and his body hangs over the ball and it looks uncomfortable. But he don't often make a mistake. There has been one or two, of course, but then with the teams we've played and the goals we conceded, it's going to happen, isn't it? So I think it'll be an interesting one at 1 o'clock on Sunday when the team comes out.
Yeah, I'm just going for the time. Shout out to Mark. Even Pano, just want to let you know in the chat, it could be worse. We could be Man U fans. Yeah. Yeah, shout out to Mark. I hope you're well. Dennis, I hope you're well. Turner was not without blame for the first goal. He needs to punch it one side
save.
And not straight down the middle. Yeah, straight in front of Jota as well. Oh, fucking hate Jota. He always does score past Forest.
But he couldn't do anything with that because if he tries to push it, he could push it into the bottom corner. Because of the angle, he could easily sort of flap that into the corner, and he gets criticised for not pushing it out. It was hit with pace from quite close range, and he's just he saved it first and foremost. That's what people have to remember in that situation. You've got to try and keep it out the net. He could have skied it or anything. But if he tries to be too clever, it could easily go under his arm or flap it in. So I don't think it was that much to blame for the first goal.
Well, people, if you must pay, please do hit the like button if you can. With 30 minutes in the show, we've still got quite a lot of topics to talk about. I think we've got to talk about it. Steve Cooper. I love the guy to bits. I think all Forest fans do. But these two big games against Villa and West Ham are vital. Glenn, do you think he's in trouble if we lose these two next games? People in the chat as well, get involved.
The earliest comment we put up about Marinakis must be getting, what was it? Must be having concerns. Every single game, he's going to be evaluating the performance of every team he's involved with, both here and in Greece. Every single game, he's going to be looking at the performance of some players. This is the chairman, the owner. And he's going to be reviewing things going forward every single time, just as he would with his development plans and his business models and all sorts. He's going to be looking to see that. I think, unfortunately, as much as I am a Cooper in, and I will continue to be, I think there will inevitably become a point where, and let's not forget, let's have a bit of a reality check right now. Someone that you and I are good mates with put on their social media today that 10 years ago this evening, we lost to Yeovil away. Right? 1 year ago to this game, 10 games into last Premier League season, we were 20th. We're 15th today. Now, okay, that may well be because of the quality and the strength of the teams below us, but we've played up to this point, the 10 games we played so far more serious opposition and skilled teams up to this point, and we've got 10 points out of those 10 games. Point a game, is that enough? In the next 2 games, there may well be a conversation that to be had where, just like it was at certain points last season, where you will remember that social media post, right? That the conversations, or the conversations about needing to improve, and then the Leicester game happened, and everything was almost was turned upside down, wasn't it, with the way the fans reacted? I think if we got Villa and West Ham in the next 2 weeks,
and then it's substitute into it.
I'm just reading a comment there. Yeah, there's everybody's got their opinion. This happens to be mine. It could be a lot worse. It's not a laughing matter. You're absolutely right, some of the comments, but it could be a lot worse. We are in a situation where there are injured players that, had we not had those injuries, it wouldn't be in the situation we would have. Sangara would have scored against Luton early doors. We wouldn't have conceded 2 in the last 12 minutes. We wouldn't have drawn. We might have nicked a goal at Palace, and all of those ifs and whens and maybes and buts. This is the situation we're in. We have players returning from injury. We have a team that's low on confidence, but all it takes is a little bit more from the crowd and a little bit more from the team and a little bit more between them. And I think they might actually start working themselves out. I agree that we are in a flat spot, and I couldn't agree more. The situation we're in right now, I don't think it would be improved by a manager bounce. And although I've read some of the comments and some of them are saying that this is who we should bring in, I don't agree with any of them. I think the best man we've got for the job is in post already. And I think he should continue and be supported by the fan base to get the best out of the players that he's got. Because let's not forget, he's a manager who's only had 111 Premier League games with Forest. He's only, since leaving playing, been a relatively new manager in this sort of level, and is still learning on the job. Now, I happen to think that, we've talked at length about Cooper and the way that Cooper works with young people, young players. I happen to think he's the best person for the role right now. There are others that no doubt will be brought in, and one day he won't be the manager of this club anymore. He'll be doing something else, and we'll be talking about who will be coming in. I don't think that day is today, personally. And even if we lose to Villa, and let's not forget, they are playing extraordinarily well at the moment. They've got some extremely good players, particularly up front, and they're scoring goals, although they're not playing as well away as they are at home. We may well struggle against them, and then we'll be having this conversation again. It makes West Ham all the more important. So, yeah, in the next 2 games, it might become a point where those sorts of knee-jerk reactions are happening. but knee-jerks are happening all over the place. Had we not lost to Luton, half of the criticisms that we're seeing on her social media and your comments now wouldn't necessarily still be in play, wouldn't be written. They'll still be thought, no doubt, but they wouldn't be written. So, yeah, I'm worried about the next couple of games, as worried as I was when I saw the team sheet coming out at 1 o'clock yesterday, Dor, when I spoke to you. But I am still very much Cooper in. And I think we just need to work through this little lull without getting too low or too high.
People, guys, before I get popped out on Des, what are you? Are you Steve Cooper in? Yes or no? Put in the comments now, because I said, like I said, I agree with what Glenn said. I'm Forest fan first. Let me put it real. We're Nottingham Forest fans. We want our club to do well, and that's the most important thing. I still believe it's. I know it's the second season for Steve Cooper and that, but I still think he can do it well. We can still people's predictions. Let me ask before I get Davo. What was people's prediction before the start of the season where Forest would finish? Did you think we'll finish for top 10? Wouldn't chat now. What's your opinion on Cooper? Do you?
Well, you asked that question. What was your prediction? My prediction was that Cooper would be sacked after 12 matches and we would finish 17th and survive by 1 goal. So, unfortunately, that is looking very likely at the minute. My fear for Cooper, I think his strength is his man management. And so his connection that he was able to make with a whole bunch of players that you saw really quickly. Jed Spence is a great example of that. You know, the relationship he had with Brandon Johnson and Joe Worrell. I'm not seeing that relationship shining through on the new players that have come through yet, and whether that exists. So that's one fear. And so whether he can do it again. I think the upside that we get if Cooper is successful as the manager long-term of Nottingham Forest means that, you know, if we go make a change, we run the risk of, you know, who's better and all of those sort of things. And so obviously we want Steve Cooper to work out. But my big fear is actually thinking about it tactically. I just struggling to remember too many times where you think, gee, Steve Cooper made a whole bunch of really smart changes, or, you know, he played someone you weren't expecting, or he just did something where you think, whoa, Steve Cooper. Yeah, tactically that was different, and that got us the win. And so, yeah, I worry that with Steve Cooper, we're a 15th, 16th in the Premier League team. And on the basis of a bell curve, eventually, if we keep with Steve Cooper, we will eventually fall into an 18th season. That's my big fear at the minute. So am I Cooper in or out? I'm still Cooper in. And I think the fans have got a big responsibility at this next match. And as an international fan, I cannot stress enough the responsibility you have as one of those 27,000 Forest fans at that match next weekend. You have to go nuts. And if you aren't going to scream your lungs out, give your ticket to someone else. I just think it is so important that we get behind this team and some of those characters start to feel like, whoa, it's like really cool. Like there's been no fan reaction, and I think that will just help. No, that's a slight side point, but Cooper in for mine, but I'm worried next 2 matches if he loses. There was a comment there before. If we lose both of those, he is in big trouble.
Des, what's your thoughts on Cooper? Because before that, I see, like I saw. I'm not trying to like I said, people have their own opinion, and that's all good. Top 10 with this team. He picks favorite players who are not good enough. Morgan White, Wall Turner, who made several mistakes. Are we really a top 10 team with the players that we've got?
No. Not a single one of our players makes the Liverpool team, and every single Liverpool player, if they were in our squad, is immediately into our starting lineup, including the left back.
And that's why I asked about it. Like I said we'll finish. I think I said 11th. We'll finish. I'll be happy with 11th. We're 15th. If we get these 2 wins, we'll go up the table. It's just about. Yeah, Des, what's your thoughts on Steve Cooper? You in or out?
I'm still in. I've spoke passionately. I've spoke at length on this channel about how much I think he's the man for the job. If it's sentimental, so what? You know, he's given me the best time watching my football club over the last 2 years. But that's not what I base my in on. You know, it's the fact that you look at what Luton, Sheffield United are doing this season, and the position Forest found themselves in after Leicester was very similar to where Sheffield United are, and he kept us in the Premier League. You know, it's really, really, really tough, and this should be an eye-opener for some fans that the gap and the golfing quality is getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. you know, even amongst those tiers down the Premier League. So whilst we're reaching for that next block of, I don't know, 12 to 16th, whatever position you call it, you know, it's getting tougher. Aston Villa, you know, everybody's using Aston Villa as example. Aston Villa was in a good position when Steven Gerrard were there. They'd thrown lots and lots of money at Steven Gerrard. Somebody had taken on Unai Emery come in. He was attracted because it was an attractive proposition. Is Forest an attractive proposition, you know, with what we're witnessing at the moment? Yes, the football's a bit dire. The commitment might not be there. So who's going to take it on? We heard last year that Vieira had turned it down. Benitez had turned it down because it weren't an attractive job. So for what I'm getting to, for every Unai Emery who comes in and wins game after game after game, who was always a top coach, there's 10 that don't succeed, perhaps more. And every team, I said it somewhere last week, every team outside the top 4, even some in the top 4, want rid of the manager at some point during the season, because you're only 3 games away from a crisis, aren't you? And that's now where Forest have found themselves at. We've lost 1 game in reality. Yes, we're all furious, feeling like we've lost the Luton game, which is still niggling away at me, because if we had won that, yes, you don't get the reaction. But that's no reason to sort of let it go and say we're okay and paper over the cracks.
Yeah.
The reality is we're in this little slump, this flat spot, as I put it earlier, and we've got to find a way out. Every manager's 3 games away from a crisis. Man City lose 3 games, they're not going to win the league, apparently. Do you know, that kind of thing. So you just got to be careful. And football has got this funny old habit, hasn't it, of surprising you when you least expect it. We play Aston Villa on Sunday, like Glenn said. They've won a lot of games. They're not so great on the road, and it has to come to an end somewhere. And it could be that game where it turns it around. It was the same last season, and I'm not trying to be romantic in that sense, because I don't believe in that nonsense. It's just the fact we've got an opportunity again to get the ball in our court. We're at home. Hopefully the crowd will get behind them, get really sort of raucous. And if it feels like a Cooper send-off, which we've had 1 or 2 of those already, you know, let's make it pay. Let's give it that big effort, get behind the team. Yes, it's hard at the minute. I'm finding it, for as positive as I like to be, I'm finding it hard to be really positive about what I'm seeing. But we've got to do whatever we can, you know, as fans, get behind the team, get behind the manager, stop putting pressure on players on the pitch, you know, by calling for the head every 2 minutes. I've been a little bit guilty of that myself, you know, but it's the ones who aren't trying. If it means resorting back to Ryan Yates and Joe Worrell because they're going to give you absolutely everything, you know, and I'll get hammered for saying that.
That's right. Let me say something. And people in the chat, I'm going to ask Glenn and Rob as well, because what game was it? Chelsea. Joe Worrell and Ryan Yates had a fantastic game. And I'm not saying like Joe Worrell he's not a fantastic defender, but he puts the effort. Let me ask this question, right? We talk about Sangare has not had a fantastic game. I saw in the comments we prefer to put Ryan Yates in. And everyone can moan about, we could stop talking about one of our own. This one, I don't care what a lot of people say. I like Ryan Yates. I love Joe Worrell, and they can moan about this and over. I'm asking you, Glenn, would you put Yates in? Because he's got more. You said he's not the best. I always said we needed a better player than Yates in that role. Sangare for me was, but for me right now, I'll put Yates back in. Would you put Yates back in against Villa? People in the chat are getting involved as well.
I would. Do you remember what you and I were talking about just before he came on yesterday? He was talking to Alan Tate, and Tate was, as he would, had his arm around him and was talking about stuff. And the last thing, you could see it from where we were, the last thing that Tate said, just that. And just encouraged him to get stuck in and get involved. And he did. And he made a big difference, I think, to the way we played, albeit, and you could obviously assume that at that point Liverpool had seen that it was never going to be more than a 2-0 and took their foot off the gas and were cruising in neutral, even though we were first gear perhaps for the first 60 minutes. it was obvious that Yates made a big difference. It was really interesting, equally about substitution. Yates, he was stripped off and standing on the edge of the dugout when Wood scored his second goal against Luton. He was ready to come on. In hindsight, perhaps that shouldn't have been that made it substitution. It may well have had a negative effect on his confidence the way he was playing in that game, because I thought he played not as well as he perhaps could or should have done. However,
it was the double change with Yates and Kouyaté at the time. I think both of them coming on, having just rewatched that game painfully.
Really upset the midfield, didn't it?
Yeah, it just changed we just suddenly switched to being ultra defensive. Like one of them makes sense, but two of them, it just seemed tactically, categorically the wrong thing to do. And when rewatching it, when we scored the second goal from Chris Wood in that Luton match, Cooper actually looks panicked in terms of, oh, let's get the guys on quickly and let's go do this. It was almost like he just felt he had to make that change. And then that psychological fragility, as we mentioned, it just kind of kicked in and the whole team kind of followed that, I felt.
So yeah, to finish my answer, I think a Yates start against Villa would be a really sensible option. I think it might well give Sangara a little bit of a
kick on his backside.
Yeah, might actually give him a little bit of a wake-up call. And for all we know, him coming on as the third 60-30, 60-40, or whatever they're doing at the moment with the hour and 5 minutes changing in, having Sangara come on and play in that Yates 6 role, I wouldn't see that as being a negative thing. Certainly the way that Yates might be working himself back into it. And we've talked, I think back in August we were talking about Yates, Boldo and Dore, about what we saw as him being that player who would fight for his position. I think this might be a really good starting point to springboard on and give both of them that competition that both of them needs, because we've got that strength and depth in that position in terms of the pair of them. And I think Yates might well be the best person to play for Villa, at least against that midfield. I agree with the comment earlier on about how strong their midfield is. It might be a Yates to upset it a little bit. And yeah, his near assist to Alanga's volley yesterday shows just how much he's committed to bringing the ball forward as much as he hasn't been in previously. I think he was looking forward a lot yesterday and was playing forward balls a lot. So I think he will be the
game was over when he came on, though, Glenn.
Sorry?
The game was over when Yates came on, though. So
yeah.
So he's playing against.
It didn't finish 4-1 like my prediction, though. To be honest, though, dude. But I think giving Sangara an hour off and seeing Yates on,
I think that's right.
I would do that.
I think you also get the benefit of Yates being, you give the brief to Yates of you're on for 60 minutes and Sangara you're on for 40. And so then you get a 60-minute Ryan Yates performance. And so then he's even more energetic and buzzing around the field. And then that might, Sangare might go, oh, God. But it's a massive risk benching Sangare. He can immediately switch off. I've got John Joe Shelby-like fears for Sangare at the moment.
Let me switch over, Dad. Like, we spoke about Yates here, and we'll talk about Mr. Marinakis, because he has pumped. We've not given him credit. He's pumped in so much money for Nottingham Forest, and I want to praise him for that. But what do you think he's thinking, Des? What if he was Marinakis? What would you do? Be in the chat. What would you do about Marinakis? Like,
well, the whole thing about Yates and Sangare, and I know you've just asked me a different question, but the whole thing about that for me centres around the signings, the timing, Marinakis. Some of these people in the comments, I don't want to create a backlash, have got very short memories.
Get at him!
The last game we won figured with Yates and Worrell playing absolutely out of their skin. Incredible performance from both of them against Chelsea. It was a fantastic day. And what happened is the day before we went and signed all those players, and then we had a statement 2 days after about how we've turned the corner. I was absolutely gobsmacked that Yates and Worrell did not play the game after Chelsea. I didn't think there'd be too many changes. You know, I know we'd sign these players, but to put some of the new guys in straight away, I kind of question how much choice the manager's got to play them. You know, I don't know. I've no idea. I absolutely adore Marinakis for what he's done to the club. He's the guy who calls the shots. He makes big shots. He's telling us the right things. You know,
Yeah.
I've been saying for many years, let's not be average. Let's reach for the stars and get to the moon like we have at the moment. You know, let's really, really push on. You can't fault him for his money. I just wonder what happened over that period where you've just won a game of football. You've just won a big game of football for Forest, you know, with the away record. And even though Chelsea are poor, it was massive that weekend. And then all of a sudden it felt like we'd kind of ripped the heart out of the team. And I'm not just, I know some of these players, if they play to the full potential, are going to leave Yates and Worrell and some of the other guys behind, but they're not playing to the full potential. Like Glenn says, they need, perhaps Sangare needs 60 minutes on the bench, you know, just to realise that there's competition here, guys. You know, there's you've got to earn your shirt. You've got to earn the right to play football. And I just think, you asked me about Marinakis and where he's at with everything. Just, I don't quite know what you meant by that, Dor, but I'm just a bit confused with what happened in that period.
I mean, like, as with Marcus, like I said, these next two games are massive. They are massive. If we lose the next two games, do you think?
Do I think he'll sack Cooper?
Yeah, do you think he'll sack Cooper?
I think he'll sack Cooper eventually. I think we might get another shot across the bows, you know, of if we do lose those two games, we need to see this massive improvement, like, because that tends to be what happens, isn't it? When I don't think he wants to necessarily sack him. I think he wants. At times, I probably have thought he wanted to sack him, but he's had every opportunity to do that now, and he almost gives him a last chance every time. I think there'd have been big questions asked, and I'll agree with everybody in the comments. The Luton game, there was big questions asked because it went wrong. It was an absolute cock-up. You know what happened when we made it 2-0. So it'd have been sort of asking big questions about that. And like I say, with the number of games now ticking up, it's 6 games since a win. You know, having spent the money he's got, he will want more. I'm just not sure, you know, there's anyone out there better to do it. And like Marinakis has said in his comments in the past, until he finds a better manager, a better coach, they ain't going to replace him. You know, so he's obviously looking in certain areas. But you look at the Bournemouth guy, you know, he's had a shocker. He's supposed to take Bournemouth to the next level. He was linked heavily with Cooper's job. It doesn't always work. You know, it really doesn't. So I think Marinakis, he puts all his money in. He's got every right to make big calls. And one day he'll have every right to sack Steve Cooper and make a decision to put someone else in. Do I think it's coming? If there's this air of uncertainty, air of desperation almost, it feels at the moment, you know, to get going. The season, the own form has been the thing, hasn't it? And we can go a long way to put that right on Sunday. That's what I was getting to before I got cut off, is if we win on Sunday, you know, and it's a great occasion again, and the fans are singing the owner's name, the manager's name, and everybody in the stadium is enjoying football like we're supposed to. It all turns around again, doesn't it? And football turns so quickly. So I don't think he's made his mind up. I don't think he'll wait too long. If we're in this position at Christmas, you know, hovering over those 3 teams, I think he'll think, I want more ROI on my money. You know, I want more return of investment to really kick on and prove his own words. You know, because he put it out in that statement after Chelsea, didn't he? That we need to start climbing up the table and turning the corner, and we seem to have, but we seem to have gone back around it. So it's inevitable one day. I don't think it's necessarily imminent, but we've got to do something very quickly.
100%. I was going for a comment on a fantastic one from Justin, who's a member to the channel. If you want to be a member to the channel, people, please do. It helps the channel a lot. And if you want to do any super chats as well, please do. And again, just from Justin, do you guys feel the players are still playing for Cooper? I haven't seen a sign of them not playing for him. Just errors costing us. Glenn, take that one.
Yes, I do. I don't see any. I'm a teacher, remember, so I've got my petulance radar on. I don't see any instance of them not playing to the plan. I don't see that any instance, any example of them making decisions that are not what they would have planned and trained for in the previous days leading up to the matches. No. So I think you're right. I think there's an error in every one of our players because they are either new to Premier League football or they've only recently joined that level of competition. So there's errors in them, but I don't think that's deliberately trying to stitch up the manager or do something that's not necessarily what they decided or what they'd agreed upon is the best way of taking on those teams. No, I don't agree. So I don't believe so. So yes, I agree with Justin. I don't think there's any in my experience, and I've been to every away game and all but 2 home games so far this season. I haven't seen any examples of any situation where they've been playing not for Cooper.
Glenn, but hold on, can we dig on this a little bit more? Because I think one of Cooper's strength was his relationship with the players. And so whilst you're calling out that, you're not seeing any signs of petulance, I'm not seeing any signs of an exceptional elite level relationship that Cooper has with some of these new players. And so I worry that he's not going to get that. And I think that's his big thing. And so he's not tactically brilliant like some of the other guys we've mentioned. And I don't think he has got the connection with the players, and he's got to get it in the next couple of matches, and they've got to start playing for him. I'm not convinced. You saw him get annoyed with Alanga when Alanga was offside a few times. They showed that on the coverage.
Before I get this, this is a fantastic one from David. We've lost 4 Premier games all the way. Liverpool, Man City, Man U, and Arsenal. Who expects us to win? And that's a good answer. Good question. Go on, guys. Before we go,
I was just going to say that I kind of sit in between the two guys there, But my big point when I first came on, and you said I was ranting, was the players weren't playing for anyone yesterday. They weren't playing for the manager. They weren't playing for themselves. They weren't playing for the fans. Because it was that poor. The effort was that poor. And I said it already. Cooper called it out before the game. The stupid mistakes, the errors, the things. He's sending messages there to say, stop fucking up, basically. You're costing the club, you're costing him, you're costing everybody, because that's what they keep doing, game on game. I've never seen a team like Forest. I've seen teams that are really, really poor and make mistakes. But the basic mistakes, we do some good stuff on a football pitch, at times. But the real basics that lead to goals are incredible sometimes. And it's not just they lead directly to a goal and you can automatically blame someone. It's passing it, putting your man under pressure, putting your mate under pressure. It's those kind of things. So I just think that those players yesterday weren't playing for anyone. And to see the petulance starting to come through, it is a little bit worrying now, like Baldo says.
Before we end the show, like I'm nearly at the end of the hour now, and people get in chat, get involved as well. I personally think Forest won't get relegated. I don't think it'll happen. But where do you think Forest will finish? Where do you think Forest will finish? Glenn, where do you think Forest will finish?
I said 15th. I don't agree that based on the summer transfer window that should change significantly. I'm certainly not now in the 11th or 12th camp. I would still say 15th.
Are you happy with that? Do you think that's a good thing, Des? Glenn, do you think that's a good thing?
In what respect? It's third season in a row in the Premier League. You were saying, Des, about return on investment. There's lots of comments, isn't there, about how much we've spent from fans. I don't care how much our chairman and our owners spend on our players. It doesn't interest me one bit. It's not my money, so I'm not bothered how much they spend. And I don't think personally we should be overly concerned about what the value of those players are and how much that then leads to them having expectations of being, world class, and we see them making errors. I think 15th is a solid result based on there being 4 worse teams already in the Premier League. I think the end of the season will tell that there are some teams that will struggle to get more than 25, 30 points, and there'll be us that will, after our blip, we hope, with a few more players coming back and some goals in key games that are going to nick us 3 points when we don't expect them. And although that point earlier on about we didn't expect to get anything from those Man City, Man United games, I agree with that. There will be some games like the Liverpool home game last season where we will get points where we don't expect them. So I'm confident that 15th is still something that's achievable. I'm certainly not going to be getting the. Just seen another comment there. I'm certainly not going to be getting myself over enthusiastic about a top 12 or top 13. No, not yet.
I see the comments as well, and I'm not going to respond to some of them because some just fell ends. What are you thinking, Waldo? What do you think? Like I said, I think, Mike. Like I said, people see that I've seen 15th in the league. Is that a bad thing? I know we spent so much money, but is it a bad thing? I don't know. This is what I get. People are expecting because we spent so much money. We've got a good squad. We're going to get Champions League football. Yeah. Barney, what do you think?
I don't think we're getting relegated. I know that much. I think my prediction of us finishing 17th is looking more likely now than it maybe was at the start of the season or maybe 5 matches ago. I think 16th, 15th, we're in and around those spots. That's where we're going to finish. I think it all comes down to Taiwo. It's Taiwo's injury status. If Taiwo's uninjured and gets another run of games, then he just improves our team so much that I think we can push up to 14th. But it's the margins for us and where we are placed are so, that Chris Wood offside against Luton and those 2 points, like all of those moments are just so big for us. And it could just be, I'm going to stick to my 17th door. We're going to finish 17th and it'll be as exciting as it always is being a Forest fan. And why would you not sign up for this? So much fun.
What was your prediction start season? Are you still sticking with it?
I said 15th or 16th because I didn't think that Forest have really improved enough to take over many teams. They're obviously better than those in the relegation zone at the moment. What they have to be careful of over the next few weeks is if they play each other and start picking up points, then it does get a bit it gets a bit frightening for us. I don't know how the fixtures run, but we're better than those. On that basis, I think we will stay up comfortably. When I say comfortably, I just don't think it'll go down to the last few games. I don't think we'll get a massive points return. I don't think we're going to need a massive points return. Perhaps even a number that would get you relegated in some seasons or keep you up. But I definitely agree with Baldo on the Taiwo thing. Without Taiwo in that team, we don't score goals. It's as simple as that. We do not score goals without Taiwo in that team. And yes, we played Luton and we created chances, and you can't fault Chris Wood for what he did. But we will just not get the goals to take us anywhere. And at the moment, we're missing the supply, we're missing the firepower. If that comes back, these fine margins, what everybody talks about in football, but the Crystal Palace game, Taiwo could have been the difference. The Luton game, Taiwo could have been the difference in just sort of pressing them back. And that's what he does. That's what people don't.
The press up front from Taiwo, Des, you're right. The press up front just changes it. It's not just, it's so critical.
It's the way you can push teams back and we can defend from the front,
Yep.
And we don't have that when he's not there, because Liverpool were petrified of him when he came on. You could. Van Dijk was like a Rolls Royce for 70 minutes, just strolling around like he was 4 or 5 years ago. When he comes on the pitch, you can literally see the fear in them. That because Konate, he probably still got nightmares from the last 2 games he's played against him. So they can just push him back. And you saw, if there was one positive out of the game, it was when they made the subs. I won't take too much from it because the game was over, but they created 1 or 2 opportunities, again, because Tyro's on the pitch. So a lot of the personnel around him can move about all it wants without him there to stick it in the back of the net. And he doesn't do it in a gamely fashion. He does it unangly, and it's this, that, and the other. It doesn't matter, because if he's not in there, we don't do it very often. It's that simple. So hopefully he's on his way back, and we start then putting in some of the performances, especially away from home, that we put in earlier in the season that gave us cause for optimism. Because when he's in the team, it gives us that. It gives us that hope.
Before we do go, we've got the man, the legend, Super Kev on this chat. How you doing, Kev? I'll get Kev back on the show when he's not busy. He's a busy man, but Kev, you're still learning from the Premier League. Give it time. Forest will be fine. The man himself cares. I said it. We'll be fine. But at this moment in time, we're not. So, but Kev, thank you for watching this. I'll get Kev. I'll my message Kev later on to get back on the show. But I hope you're well, Kev, as well. I'll see all these comments as well. Everyone has an opinion about him. People want Cooper in. People want Cooper out. I get it, but it is what it is. Before we do go, Des is doing something special. You got to send me the link, Des, as well, so people can donate, because Des is doing something fantastic. For when is it? Hopefully. But Des, tell people in the comment, what are you doing so people can donate?
I'm going to attempt to run coast to coast in September next year. 192 miles from the Lake District to Robin Hood's Bay on the East Coast. 7 marathons in 7 days. I don't know whether it's even possible at this stage. Since my peak of fitness, I put on a lot of weight, and as people tell me often on Twitter when they're calling me a fat so-and-so, but I'm in a bit of a health kick at the moment. A couple of things happened to me which made me sort of want to focus on doing something like this again. I've done a lot of fundraising, so it's a massive thing for me to do. I don't know. I'll definitely get coast to coast. I don't know if I can run 7 marathons in 7 days. So what I'm doing it for is a charity in Nottingham called Footprints Nottingham. They're an absolutely amazing charity. I know Lisa Fox, who's been on here before, does a lot of work for them. And I went to a school for children with learning difficulties, and I wasn't committed to fundraising for them. I was there 2 minutes, and myself and Kay kind of fell in love with the idea of doing some work for them to try and raise the money, because the work they were doing with young kids with learning disabilities was incredible. And I dare anybody to go and look them up and see what they do, because you can't come away and not feel attached to it. So it's got purpose, it's got intent. I've got to put a lot in. I am putting a lot in at the moment. In October, I've not had a drink. And
what? You not a drinker after yesterday? Kay, if you're watching this, has Des had a drink? He's lying, because I almost had a drink last night.
Not in October, and I've lost 1.5 stone. So some of those are calling me a fat so-and-so can piss off.
Is Kay watching this, Des? Can you tell Kay? Can you put it in the link, or I'll put it in the comment section as well? So
not let her put it in. But I will say, if anybody can get behind it, any way, shape or form, if you want to donate or even sponsor the event and I can put your name to it and that kind of thing, I'd really, really appreciate any support that you can give, because it is going to be a big ask, a big challenge, and it's going to be probably life-changing for me to some degree. So I'd love to get everybody on board if you can.
People, like I said, I will get a link from Kay, and I will put in the description as well. Because like I said, I've donated, everyone else donated. David Bonner, get your pennies out because I know you are tight git, but get your pennies out. But yeah,
also,
people,
I'm going to sponsor you, Des. I'll throw you some bucks. I think that's terrific, cause I just
English money, not Aussie money. English, okay.
Well, yeah, okay.
Right, people, it's been a great show. Thank you, everyone. I don't know where Des has gone now.
He's off running.
He's off running. So,
in fact, the next episode, I want to see a treadmill set up, and I want to see Des just going like and he's not allowed. He's only allowed to be on this channel if he's on the treadmill from now on.
So people in the comments, do you want Des on a treadmill?
Yes.
That would be great. But
Yes.
people, like I said,
We can all agree on that, Door. Des on the treadmill.
Des on the treadmill. People in the chat, let's get him on. But people, it's been a great show. Glenn, thank you very much for your. You know what? I loved it, Dad. Glenn was sat next to me yesterday, and it wasn't great. But sitting next to Glenn, it's so good, isn't it, Glenn? Sit next
Bless
to
you.
him. Yeah.
No, it's always a pleasure coming on here and talking about the team that we all love so much and invest so much of our time in. And I think the way we're going to go forward between now and the end of the season, there's 3/4 of the season left. There's still a lot more points to play for. There's still a lot more disappointments and some negativity, no doubt. But there's still a lot to be positive about. And I'm looking forward to that journey through the rest of the season. And who knows, we might just make a
100%.
Make a few upsets here and there, but it certainly shouldn't be this evening.
Where have you been? We don't want you, Dave. You went for a run, didn't you? Well, like I said, thank you for coming on. All the way from Australia? Not Australia.
All the way from Australia. The daylight savings is better for me now. It was 8 a.m. when we jumped on this morning. So I'll just sign off by saying, again, everyone who goes to the match, take your responsibility of supporting the team seriously. And I've noticed the chat tonight's been a little bit heated with a few characters. We just got to get behind the team for those in person. It is just so pivotal. And like, let's go. Like, we're in the Premier League, guys. Like, things could be a hell of a lot worse. Let's go.
And last but not least,
Des,
I don't know if you know, but people in the chat, the next stream that you're on, Des, you'll be on a treadmill. Is that okay?
Okay.
Is that right?
I need to get all the miles I can in. My battery went there, by the way, so I'm now on Kay's phone. I've not changed my name either.
Oh,
so,
yeah. Okay, shout out to Kay, but Kay, we didn't want him. Next time we have you on, Kay. But yeah, right. Don't forget, people. I will put Kay's link in the description so everyone can donate as well. Like, it's fantastic what he's doing as well. But listen, let's be people. So I'm not gonna put Steve Cooper out. I'm not doing that because I can't be bothered. And people can have a go at me in the chat because I don't care. Right. Thank you, everyone. I'll be back on Friday for the Aston Villa preview as well. But it's been fun. But like I said, we're on to the next game. Can we get a result against Villa? These next two games are massive, but it is what it is. If you are rewatching the show, anything that we spoke about, put in the comment section. I'll try it and get reply to all the messages I can. It's been stressful. I know the comments have been hateful, but I'm not going to respond to all the negative stuff. It's everyone's opinion. That's why I'll do this channel. Right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Des. Thank you, Kay. And thank you, Bardo. It's been a pleasure. Peace and love. Up the Forest.